I'm a 28-year-old woman working remotely as a product manager for a tech company, and I've built a life I'm genuinely content with. I never wanted kids, a choice that sparked endless debates with my relatives. If you'd been at our family gathering last weekend, you'd think I was the villain for not pursuing motherhood or dedicating my life to raising children. Family reunions are supposed to be joyful, aren't they? A chance to reconnect, overeat, and laugh about old memories. Mine, however, felt like a trial. The tension hit me the moment I stepped into the house. Subtle side eyes from aunts, forced smiles, and pointed questions. It started before I could even set down my bag. "Still single, are you?" My cousin Patricia, 35, announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. Patricia, a mother of 3 who constantly shares their milestones online, was in the kitchen, showing off her youngest's latest school pictures. "Must be nice having all that time to yourself. What do you even do?" I smiled politely and brushed it off. What's the use in arguing? But the jabs kept coming. Another relative chimed in, raving about how life only truly starts after kids. Then someone else asked, "Have you thought about adopting?" It's not too late, but it gets tougher with age. It felt rehearsed, like a coordinated effort to make me feel small. They said it with sugary concern, as if they were helping. But their judgment was as clear as the iced tea on the table. Even my mom joined in, softly saying I was squandering my best years, and that every woman deserves the fulfillment of motherhood. My dad nodded, adding they'd love more grandkids. I tried redirecting by sharing my career successes and personal interests, but it was futile. My achievements never mattered here. They only cared about babies, school grades, and holiday card photos. Eventually, the conversation shifted to my younger sister, Lauren. Growing up, she was the star, stunning, charismatic, always stealing the spotlight. But things changed when she got pregnant at 21, left college, and fell into a bad crowd. Addiction took over, followed by a string of bad choices. She eventually vanished from our lives. The last time I saw her was years ago, during a court-ordered family counseling session that ended with her storming out. No one had heard from her since. When Lauren's name came up, the room grew hushed. It was like an unspoken rule not to dwell on it. My aunt casually mentioned that Lauren's son, Jake, was now in foster care. She said it as if commenting on the weather, cold, detached, emotionless. I froze, processing her words. Jake, whom I'd never met, was about 10. The last I heard, he was living with Lauren and one of her partners. Apparently, that fell apart. "What do you mean, foster care?" I asked. My aunt shrugged. "You know, Lauren, her choices caught up with her. Poor boy, what can you do?" I scanned the room, waiting for someone to speak up, but they all resumed their chatter as if Jake didn't exist. I pressed my parents, but they brushed me off. "You wouldn't get it," my mom said. "It's complicated." The rest of the night passed in a haze. I couldn't stop thinking about Jake, a 10-year-old boy abandoned by his mother and ignored by the family who should have cared. Here they were, preaching family values while dismissing a child in need. That night, I couldn't let it go. I started researching, trying to find out more about Jake. It didn't take long to uncover details. He'd been in the system for years, bouncing between homes. The more I learned, the angrier I grew. How could my family act like he didn't matter? How could they judge me while ignoring a kid who needed help? The next day, I contacted a social worker to ask about Jake's situation. It wasn't a choice I made lightly. I knew it would be challenging, but I couldn't stand the idea of him being forgotten. If my family wouldn't step up, I would. This wasn't about proving anything or silencing their criticism. It was about Jake, a boy who deserved better than the life he'd been given. I spent the next day making calls and arranging to meet Jake. The social worker explained he'd been in foster care for years, moved between homes, and had behavioral challenges. When I asked what that meant, she mentioned struggles with adjusting, outbursts, and academic difficulties. It made sense. How could a kid endure that much without scars? The social worker was hesitant about a visit, noting Jake's trust issues and wariness of new people. But when she learned I was family, even a distant one, she agreed to a supervised meeting. She warned me to keep expectations low. A week later, I arrived at the foster care center, nervous and fidgeting with my bags strapped. I didn't know what to expect. The social worker led me to a small room with mismatched chairs and chipped, colorful walls. Jake sat at a table, sketching on paper. His hair was messy, and he looked smaller than I'd pictured for a 10-year-old. He didn't look up when I entered. I sat across from him, unsure how to start. The social worker introduced me as his aunt. Jake glanced at me briefly before returning to his drawing. His shoulders were hunched, gripping the pencil tightly. I didn't push, just commented on his sketch. A detailed robot. When I praised it, he mumbled, "Thanks," and kept drawing. That first meeting was awkward and quiet, but I felt a connection I couldn't explain. He didn't trust me. Why would he? But I knew I'd come back. When I told my family about the visit, their reactions were predictable. My mom sighed, calling me dramatic. My dad scoffed, saying I was trying to be a savior. My cousins smirked, joking I'd regret it. It hurt, but I wasn't doing this for them. Over the next 2 weeks, I visited Jake regularly. He remained reserved, but started opening up. I brought him a sketchbook once, and his eyes sparkled for the first time. He loved drawing robots, spaceships, and superheroes, and he was talented. When I asked about his favorite films, he listed animated movies. I noted them to watch later for conversation topics. Slowly, he shared glimpses of his life. He spoke about his mom, how she sang to him as a young child, smelled like berries, and stopped being there when he needed her most. It was heartbreaking, but I listened without interrupting. When I decided to pursue adoption, I knew it wouldn't be easy. The paperwork was overwhelming, and the system tested your commitment. Some friends were supportive, others were skeptical, warning me about Jake's challenges and the responsibilities. It didn't sway me, but it made me question my readiness. My parents were livid when they found out. They accused me of shaming the family and causing more drama. My mom even claimed I was stealing Lauren's child, which was absurd given their indifference toward Jake. After too many fights, I stopped answering their calls. Not everyone opposed me, though. A few close friends helped me prepare Jake's room. We painted it soft blue, added shelves for his sketchbooks, and set up a desk for drawing. I wanted him to feel like he had a space, even before moving in. During one visit, Jake shared he'd been bullied in foster care. Other kids mocked him for lacking a real family. I could see the pain he hid, and I vowed to change that. He deserved to feel safe and valued. The adoption process hit a snag when the agency needed family references. My parents refused to support me, claiming I wasn't fit to parent. It felt like a punch, but I found co-workers and friends who gladly vouched for me. Update. The custody hearing is set for next month, and I've been preparing in my free time. The social worker noted that my remote job is a plus, offering flexibility to meet Jake's needs. Jake stayed over for the first time last night, and I was more nervous than he was. I stocked the fridge with kid-friendly snacks and bought extra blankets. He arrived clutching his sketchbook, his comfort item. We tried making pancakes for dinner since he'd never done it before. It was a mess. Batter splattered the ceiling, don't ask, our clothes, and my hair. But then, something magical happened. Jake laughed, a real hearty laugh. It was the first time I'd heard it, and it made the chaos worth it. Later, as I tucked him in, a new experience for me, he asked if he could put glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. "If I come back," he said softly. My heart swelled. After he slept, I sat in the living room and cried. Happy, overwhelmed, scared tears all at once. Work has been adjusting to signs of kid life. During today's team call, my boss noticed a half-finished robot sketch on my wall. When I shared about Jake, she beamed. Her kid loves robots too, and she offered to connect Jake with online art classes. My cousin Patricia has been spreading rumors in the family chat, saying I'm not cut out for motherhood and this is a phase. I left the group. Surprisingly, Anna, a distant relative, messaged me privately. She admired what I was doing and offered help, having taught art to kids Jake's age. The social worker visited today to inspect Jake's room. She noticed his art supplies organized by color and type, his system, not mine, and said he's already making the space his own. She added that his current foster home reports he's more engaged since our visits began. Last night, Jake showed me a new drawing different from his usual robots. It showed two people at a table eating pancakes. "That's us," he said, quickly changing the topic. I stepped into the bathroom to hide my tears. The hardest part is my parents' silence. They haven't spoken to me since I started the adoption process. Dad drove by my house once. I saw his car slow down, but he didn't stop. Mom blocked me online after I posted a photo of Jake's art desk. Their rejection stings, but watching Jake slowly open up reminds me why I'm doing this. Tomorrow, we're meeting the adoption counselor again. Jake asked to bring his sketchbook to show his work. The counselor thinks art therapy could help, and I agree. For now, I'm taking it day by day, building trust and stability. Some days are tougher, but they feel right. Update 2. The home inspection was more intense than I expected. The social worker called last week to schedule it, and suddenly every corner of my apartment seemed inadequate. I spent days securing sharp edges, rearranging furniture, and checking safety hazards. I even rerouted my work cables to prevent trips. During the inspection, she paused at Jake's artwork, now displayed in what used to be my office, now his art space. She lingered on his latest piece, a vivid futuristic city, and smiled. "He'll feel settled here," she said. Those words meant more than any family approval. Financially, it's been tough. Legal fees, home upgrades, and setting up Jake's space have drained my savings. I canceled my gym membership and started cooking instead of ordering out. Every penny goes toward this. My company's HR surprised me with adoption assistance benefits I didn't know existed. Then came a bombshell. My parents filed a legal objection to the adoption. They sent a letter to the court calling me unstable and accusing me of using Jake to make a statement. Their claims were baseless, labeling me a work-obsessed person who can't keep a plant alive. I hired a lawyer to counter their allegations. Anna stepped up, submitting a powerful letter to the court praising my commitment to Jake. She also highlighted how the family had neglected him, which stirred drama at a recent family event I wasn't invited to. Jake started asking about the process. Yesterday, he asked if he could keep his last name or take mine. That he's thinking about this makes my heart race. I told him it's his choice. He nodded, then went back to drawing, but I could see him processing. The court date's next month. My lawyer's confident, especially since none of my objecting relatives ever helped Jake. Still, the wait's nerve-wracking. Jake senses my stress, so I try to stay upbeat around him. On a brighter note, his art teacher wants to enter his work in a school exhibition. Jake was unsure until I showed him famous robot art online, and now he's excited. It'd be his first public display. Amid the legal and family chaos, I remind myself this is about giving Jake love and stability. When I see him lost in his art, safe enough to create freely, I know this is right. Update 3. Life with Jake has found a rhythm, though not without hurdles. The toughest part is establishing routines, something his past foster homes struggled with. We made a weekly schedule together, leaving plenty of art time. Mornings are a struggle. Who knew 10-year-olds could craft such creative excuses? But we're improving. School's been tricky. Jake's teacher called me in last week. His math and science grades need work, but her bigger concern was his anxiety during family-related activities. For a family tree assignment, he shut down completely. I'm working with his school counselor to help him cope, creating alternative projects that celebrate all kinds of families. His art teacher's been a lifeline, letting him stay in the art room during lunch when he needs quiet. She says his technical skills, especially perspective drawing, are advanced for his age. The custody hearing last week was grueling. The questions got personal. My work hours, my personal life, all to judge my ability to provide stability. When they questioned my choice to adopt as a single parent, I stood firm, explaining how my remote job gives me more time with Jake than many traditional setups. My team at work has been amazing. During a recent call, Jake had a meltdown over a lost pencil. Instead of annoyance, my colleagues shared their own parenting mishaps. One even sent Jake a professional art kit. My neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, offered a surprise. She's taught art at the community center for decades and offered Jake private lessons. He was wary at first, but her studio, full of sculptures and canvases, won him over. It's now a weekly highlight. Last night, we had a breakthrough. Jake was working on a darker drawing. When I asked about it, he opened up about his time in foster care. Always moving, never unpacking because he knew he wouldn't stay. He showed me a hidden sketchbook filled with drawings of every room he'd stayed in, some just days apart. The conversation was heavy but vital. We sat on his art room floor late into the night, going through his sketches as he shared stories. Some made him laugh, others made him quiet. When he reached the drawing of his current room, I noticed it was more detailed. "I like drawing this one," he said, "because I'm not afraid to remember it." We're still working on trust. He sometimes hides food in his room, a habit from unstable times. Instead of addressing it directly, I got a small fridge and helped him organize his snacks. Small steps matter. Family drama persists. My aunt sent a snarky email about real parenting, implying I'm pretending. I ignored it, but Jake overheard me talking about it. This morning, I found a drawing on my desk, a superhero version of me deflecting lightning with an art shield. It made me laugh and cry. Update 4. Yesterday, Lauren showed up at my door unannounced. I hadn't seen her in 3 years and barely recognized her. She demanded to see Jake, claiming she was sober and ready to parent again. When I explained that surprise visits weren't allowed, she turned hostile, accusing me of stealing her son. The argument escalated. Lauren shouted about her rights, drawing neighbors' attention. Mrs. Thompson thankfully was passing by and took Jake, who was in his art room with headphones, into her home before he saw anything. Lauren wouldn't leave, so I called the police. After they removed her, I learned she'd been harassing my parents, demanding they intervene. She's been staying at a halfway house downtown. My mom called for the first time in months, not to support me, but to urge me to consider Lauren's feelings. I hung up. Jake's therapist held an emergency session to process Lauren's reappearance. He's confused, angry, and scared. He asked if he'd have to return to her. I reassured him he wouldn't. He showed me a drawing of a fortress with locks and alarms, its meaning clear. My lawyer's been incredible, helping me secure a restraining order against Lauren and limit her contact to supervised visits. The court was understanding, especially after Lauren's outburst. The family's split. Most side with Lauren, claiming I'm robbing a mother of her child. But Anna and an older uncle have spoken up about Lauren's history of abandonment. The family chat's a war zone. Jake's art teacher suggested entering his fortress, drawing in a kids' art contest focused on emotions. Jake agreed but wanted to tweak it first. He added a figure on top, standing guard. "That's you," he said. "Work's been my anchor. My team's flexible, adjusting my schedule for legal and therapy appointments." My boss connected me with a colleague who adopted, and their advice has been invaluable. Jake and Lauren had their first supervised video call today. It was tense. He shared some art, but her attempts to reminisce shut him down. Later, he drew robot armies for hours. His therapist says it's his way of coping. I'm documenting everything, every interaction with Lauren, every family message, for custody. It feels strange tracking my family's attempts to destabilize Jake. The hardest part is seeing Jake grapple with loyalty conflicts. He shouldn't face this at his age. But when he asked if he could call me Mom, I realized family can form amid chaos. Update 5. Jake's art teacher secretly entered one of his pieces in a regional contest. He won first place. When she announced it in class, his peers cheered. The organizers planned an assembly to showcase his work and present an award. Jake was nervous about speaking publicly, but determined. On assembly day, he wore the button-up we picked together, tugging at its sleeves. His voice wavered at first, but grew steady. "Art lets me express things I can't say out loud. It makes me feel less lonely." It was perfect, until Lauren appeared at the back of the auditorium. I spotted her first. She looked disheveled and agitated. Before I could act, she moved toward the stage, shouting Jake's name. Security intervened, but not before she yelled accusations about me ruining their family. Jake froze mid-speech. I reached him as his art teacher ushered him away from the chaos. Later, in his art room, he worked on a dark, swirling piece that spoke volumes. Lauren's actions triggered an emergency court hearing, where I secured a permanent restraining order. The judge also restricted her contact to written letters, screened by Jake's therapist. My parents' response was expected. They posted online accusing me of rigging the system and stealing Jake. Anna countered with a detailed account of the family's neglect, including old messages dismissing Jake's plight. Her post spread, and Jake's school parents shared stories of his positive influence on their kids. His art teacher documented his progress, and even my CEO, who met Jake on a virtual work event, issued a supportive statement. Yesterday, Jake suggested an art show in our backyard. He invited school friends, neighbors, and former foster siblings. The theme was creating new worlds, his forte. As guests admired his work, Jake explained each piece confidently, unthinkable a year ago. Mrs. Thompson helped arrange his art chronologically, from early robots to recent emotional works. The evolution was striking. His latest piece, displayed prominently, showed people building together. "It's about choosing family," he told visitors. "My parents drove by during the show but didn't stop. It no longer hurts. We've built something stronger than their disapproval. A family rooted in choice, not duty." Jake's school grades are improving, and his art portfolio earned a spot in a prestigious summer program. The fortress drawing, once so heavy, now hangs in our living room with added windows, gardens, and open gates. "It's still strong," Jake said, "but it's a home." Tonight, as I read messages from the art show, Jake looked up and said, "I don't have to pack my art supplies anymore." It wasn't just about the supplies, we both knew it. It was about belonging and putting down roots. Our family may not match my parents' vision, but it's ours. Every sketch on our walls tells our story.